He was already inside when I got there, just standing in the corner, silent, smiling. There was no trail in the snow, no tracks, just me and him. I should have turned around the moment I saw his eyes. They weren't curious or angry, they were hungry. Have you ever felt a presence that didn't just want you dead, but wanted to be you? In the icy heart of Algonquin, I learned there are things that don't knock, don't speak, they just wait. My name's Elliot Ward. I'm a landscape photographer based out of Toronto, used to the bustle, the noise, but I've always needed the silence of the backcountry to clear my head. No phones, no people, just snow, wind and sky. So every January, I go solo into the Algonquin Park with a heavy pack and a heavier camera gear. This trip was my 7th year doing it. The forecast warned of a snow system rolling in, so I planned to hunker down for 2 nights at Icewater cabin, one of those emergency shelters about 25 kilometers from the nearest trailhead. Basic, cold, isolated. I left a trip report. I had my radio, my gear was solid. Nothing felt off, not yet. It was nearly dark when I finally reached Icewater cabin. The light was pale, blue, that kind of light you only get when it's stupidly cold. I trudged through the snow up to my knees, opened the old timber door, expecting dust and silence. Instead, he was there. A man, standing in the far left corner, facing me. Beard, big coat, thin, real thin. No bag, no stove, no boots, just bare feet planted on the frozen floorboards. For a second, I thought I'd hallucinated him, cold stress, but then he moved, just his head, tilted to the side, and smiled. Evening? I said instinctively, blinking, trying to hide my nerves. Didn't think anyone else would be out here. He didn't answer, didn't nod, didn't blink. I looked behind me, no fresh prints but mine. And that's when I felt it, a shiver that had nothing to do with the wind. I forced a laugh, stepping inside cautiously. You here long? He still didn't speak. He just moved slowly towards the back wall and sat on the floor, cross-legged, watching me. I set up my gear near the wood stove, casting quick glances towards him. I didn't want to be rude. Maybe he was non-verbal, or traumatized, or freezing. But my gut, my instincts, they were screaming. He didn't make a sound, not even a breath, and that smile stayed unbroken. At one point, while boiling snow for water, I looked away, maybe 10 seconds, and when I turned back, he was mimicking me, sitting the same way I was, tilting his head exactly like mine, even holding out an empty hand like it was gripping a kettle. I didn't sleep that night. Whenever I looked up, he adjusted slightly, so he was always the same as me. When I stood, he stood. When I bent to tie my boot, so did he, but without boots. I started keeping my headlamp trained on him, but when I looked away, just once, he was suddenly closer, sitting right across from me. I almost screamed. "Look, man," I said, backing away. You need something? Food? Water?" Nothing, just that smile. I jumped. A plank in the floor near had snapped under strain. He didn't flinch. I opened the door for air. Snow blew in sideways, but again, No second set of prints, not even where he stood. I stayed outside, shivering, breath steaming. I radioed base, static. No response, not even a hiss. When I came back in, he was lying down, same position I slept in the night before, like he was learning me. What do you do when someone's not trying to hurt you, but to replace you? The next night, I bolted the door. I even drew a crude line in charcoal across the cabin floor. He stayed on his side, barely moved, until just before dawn. Then, I heard him whispering, my voice, my exact cadence, repeating the radio call I'd made earlier, word for word. This is Elliot Ward, requesting a check-in. I repeat, that was the last night I stayed. I snapped awake before sunrise to a sharp, wet sound, like something dragging. He was gone, the door still bolted, the cabin empty. I grabbed my torch, heart racing, and scanned every shadow. Nothing, until I noticed my pack. It had been emptied, but not rummaged, no. Everything was perfectly laid out. My gear, my coat, my camera, my spare boots, lined up in the exact order I packed them. Then I saw the last item, a journal, mine, open to a blank page, but someone had written in it, in my handwriting, Day 1, arrived at Icewater cabin, alone, so far. The ink was still wet. The final sentence was smudged, as if someone's hand had shaken while writing. I'll be him soon. I ran, didn't even take half my gear, but as I bolted across the clearing, I glanced back. He was standing in the window, wearing my face, not a mask, not a copy. It was me. I made it to the ranger station, nearly frostbitten. They searched the cabin, found my pack, my notes, and a second journal, full of entries I never wrote. They were about a man named Jacob Dent, who vanished in Algonquian in 1972. He described the same cabin, the same man, the same mimicry. Only his last entry was differed. It read, he became me when I stopped remembering who I was. The rangers didn't believe me, said I'd been alone too long, cold stress, isolation. But here's the thing. They showed me a photo of Jacob Dent. He looked exactly like me. Exactly. And now, sometimes, when I wake up late at night, I see someone out the window. Same height, same shape. Just standing there, waiting, smiling. I'll be him soon. They say the Wendigo eats the flesh of man, but I don't think that's all it wants. Some things in the woods, they don't hunger for more than meat, they hunger for identity. So tell me, would you know if someone had already taken your place? What do you think happened to Elliot? And how many others has this thing become? Let me know in the comments below. They found him in the trees, naked, blood frozen to his teeth. What was left of his face had antlers carved into the skin, with his own knife. The others swore it wasn't him anymore. Not really. But they all saw what he did. After he ate the deer's heart, raw, still warm, he stopped being human. Some taboos don't protect culture, they protect survival. In the North Woods, there's one rule they all whisper: don't eat the heart. My name's Liam Tallow, I'm half Ojibwe, grew up on the Minnesota-Ontario border. My Uncle Joe was a tribal elder, a hard man, Good tracker, full of stories he only told when the fire got low. A few years ago, I got invited to my first serious winter hunt. 5 of us went: Uncle Joe, me, and 3 of my cousins. All men, all proud, all stupid in our own ways. We set up camp near Red Lake Reservation. Deep snow, howling winds, no cell service, just trees, rifles, and tradition. The goal: track a big buck that Joe had seen signs of the week before, but he warned us before we even zipped up our tents. If you see it, don't eat the heart. Not in these woods, not in this season. We laughed, joked about it, called it backwoods superstition. Only my cousin Kyle didn't laugh. He just stared into the dark and said, "I want to feel what it felt." We got lucky. Second day in, we spotted the buck. Massive antlers, scarred hide, eyes like it knew us. Kyle took the shot, dropped it clean, right through the ribs. The others cheered, clapped him on the back, but something about the way the deer twitched just didn't sit right with me. Its eyes, they didn't go blank, they just followed Kyle until the breath left its body. We gutted it on sight. Kyle reached into the open chest cavity and pulled out the heart, still steaming, said nothing, just looked around, then bit into it. Blood smeared across his chin. Everyone went dead quiet. Joe stepped back, real slow. He didn't yell, just said, "You brought him back, boy." Kyle laughed, shrugged. Meat's meat. But from that moment, the air changed. The trees felt closer, the wind sharper, and Kyle, he stopped blinking. That night, the temperature dropped fast, too fast. Our fire wouldn't stay lit, tents frosted over from the inside. Kyle sat outside, bare arms exposed, eyes fixed on nothing. His breath steamed, but he didn't shiver. Joe pulled me aside. "He's marked. It knows now. The thing that walks like hunger." He wouldn't say Wendigo, wouldn't even whisper it. That was when the tracks started, not ours. Bare human feet in the snow, huge, long-spaced strides, circling our camp. We blamed it on each other, but no one owned up. Then the whispering came. At first I thought it was the wind, but it repeated Kyle's name. "Kyle, come closer." He started muttering in his sleep, strange words, guttural, not Ojibwe, not any language I knew. By morning, he was gone. We followed his trail for miles, found the remains of a rabbit, torn open, eaten raw. Kyle stood nearby, chewing slowly, his mouth stained red. When we asked what he was doing, he just said, "It's teaching me." Joe wanted to leave, but we were deep in. No signal, no fuel for the snowmobiles until the next day. That night was the worst. We heard something scraping outside the tents, something walking on 2 legs, dragging breath through frozen lungs. I peeked out once, saw Kyle crouched by the fire, naked, his skin carved in rough lines. He was eating something, chewing it slowly, a chunk of raw meat, but not animal. The fingers, they looked human. Would you stay if leaving meant crossing paths with whatever he'd become? We confronted him, tried to restrain him. He laughed, a sound that cracked like ice. Joe shouted something in Ojibwe and threw tobacco into the fire. That's when Kyle screamed, not in pain, in rage. Something in him tore loose, and we all heard it. A second voice, inside him, low, deep, hollow. It said one word: hungry. We ran, but the woods didn't feel empty anymore. They felt like something was herding us. Just before dawn, it attacked. Not Kyle, it. Something massive, antlered, skin stretched tight like it had forgotten how to wear flesh. Its limbs were too long, jaw unhinged, and from the back, Kyle's voice, begging, pleading, screaming for us to kill him. Joe fired, didn't stop until the rifle clipped empty. The creature staggered, looked directly at me, and I swear on my blood, its face shifted. For a split second, it was mine. Then it ran, disappearing into the pines, but it left something behind. Kyle's body, curled, naked, frozen stiff, hands clawing at its own face, trying to peel it off. He'd carved antlers into his forehead with his own knife. Joe burned the body, didn't say a word the whole time. When we got back, we told the tribal authorities Kyle got lost, hypothermia, delirium. But I kept the knife, not to remember him, but to remind me what waits out there. You break a sacred rule in those woods. You don't just risk your life, you risk your soul. The next winter, someone else went missing near Red Lake. They found an abandoned camp. No blood, no gear, just a heart, lying in the snow, still warm. Some stories are warnings, not to scare you, but to save you. Out in the North Woods, there are rituals for a reason, because once you taste what isn't meant to be eaten, something ancient tastes you back. What do you think happened to Kyle? Was it the Wendigo? Or something even older? We passed the same frozen deer twice. Same twisted neck, same glassy eyes, same patch of blood by its mouth. Only thing was, we'd driven 20 miles between the two, and by the time we hit the third, Sam stopped talking, Kyle's nose started bleeding, and the trees all looked wrong, too symmetrical. Something followed us from Moosejaw, and it was learning how we think. You ever seen your own trail behind you before you've made it? I'm Brad Hastings, 33, live in Saskatoon, average job, average apartment. Every year, my two best friends, Sam and Kyle, meet up for one big snowmobile ride through backcountry trails near Moosejaw. We've done it since uni, just us, our sledges, cold beer and no signal. This year, we picked a new route, deeper into the bush than we've ever made it. Supposedly untouched, off-grid stuff. Locals said no one used the trail since 2009. Didn't say why, didn't need to. You could feel it, the air, the silence, the snow that didn't melt even under sunlight. But we went anyway. 3 guys, 3 sledges, 3 days of remote riding. One way in, no way to turn back. Day 1 felt normal, cold, crisp, beautiful, until sunset. We were heading down northwest when Sam suddenly slowed. "Didn't we pass this trail before?" he asked, pointing. A big spruce, black scar running up the trunk, snow packed weird around its base, like something had knelt there. I shrugged. "You've seen one pine, you've seen them all." But 2 hours later, there it was again. Same scar, same nail print. That night, at camp, I pulled out my GPS. Dead. Even with fresh batteries. Sam's compass spun slowly. Kyle joked we were cursed. We laughed it off. Until the howling started. Not wolves, too deep, too long, too wrong. One low call stretching for almost a full minute, then silence, then an echo, slightly off key. We didn't sleep. Next morning, we rode hard, wanted distance. That's when we saw the deer, frozen mid-stride, bent at the neck like something had snapped it in motion, blood on the snow. We passed it in silence until 20 minutes later, we passed it again. No mistake, same corpse, same curl in the tongue. No, that's not possible. We were riding in a straight line. We marked the spot, left a strap of red cloth on a nearby branch. 30 minutes later, we saw the same deer. Same position, same red cloth. We weren't going in circles. We weren't going anywhere. Then Kyle spoke up. "I've had this dream before," he muttered. "This exact trail. Us, you two, even that deer." We laughed it off, but not really. We were scarred. That night, Sam's nose bled for no reason. Mine did too. And Kyle wouldn't stop mumbling in his sleep, words we didn't recognise. The third morning, Sam was acting off. Quiet, distant, eyes looked glassy. He kept rubbing his tongue on his teeth like something was stuck there. When I asked if he was alright, he didn't answer, just stared past me. Then he said, "You should have left Kyle behind. He's already gone." I froze. "What do you mean?" He shook his head, then blinked, like waking up. "I didn't say anything." Later, I checked his GPS watch. The screen just said, "You arrived hours ago." What do you do when your mind starts lying to you? Kyle vanished that night. No prints, no gear gone, just his sledge left idling by a tree, and a message etched in the ice of his seat. He's not Kyle anymore. We found him, or it, 3 hours later, standing in the middle of the trail, facing away from us, naked from the waist up, back carved with rows of symbols. Perfect symmetry. I called out. He turned slowly. Same face, same voice, but those eyes, empty, not blind, just used up. He walked towards us barefoot, smiling. "Why'd you leave me?" he asked. Then he started copying Sam's voice perfectly. "Come on, Brad. It's me, Sam. Let's get out of here." I turned, and Sam was gone. When I spun back, there were 2 Sams. One bleeding from the nose, one smiling, both talking at once. "Brad, it's me. No, I'm the real one, Brad. Listen to my voice. You know me." I closed my eyes, pulled the flare gun, fired it between them. They scattered like smoke. I don't remember the ride out. I woke up 3 days later at a ranger station. Frostbite, dehydration. No sign of Sam or Kyle. The rangers found my helmet cam, but the footage was corrupted. Only one clip played back. A figure walking behind me, wearing my coat. Face out of focus, but grinning. The footage ended with a whisper in my own voice. I made it out. But here's the part I haven't told anyone. That message, carved in Kyle's snowmobile, is on my garage wall now. Same font, same placement. I never wrote it. And sometimes, when I check the mirror, my reflection moves just a little too late. Some things in the North Wood don't chase you. They wait for you to leave. Then they follow. They study, mimic, replace. And by the time you realise who's gone, you might be next. Have you ever had a moment where something just felt a little off? Like you've lived it before? Leave a comment if this story gave you that feeling. They say fire doesn't lie, but in the Yukon, I watched a blaze burn in the middle of a blizzard. No wood, no fuel, just snow. And something dancing inside it. It looked like me, naked, starving, laughing like I'd been finally caught. I watched alone in a tower 30 miles from anyone. No roads, no rescue. But every night that fire got closer, and one night I saw myself already in it. My name's Thomas Reed. I was a seasonal fire watcher from the Yukon Territorial Forestry Division. Every winter I'd station at Birch Ridge, an old, creaking tower 80 feet high, built in the 60s, surrounded by tundra and not much else. No TV, no signal, just radio check-ins every 48 hours. I liked the quiet. After a divorce and a breakdown, it felt like somewhere I couldn't hurt anyone or myself. Routine kept me sane. Binocular sweeps, logging cloud cover, writing fiction in my journal to fill the void. But then, around the 4th week, I saw something no one ever reported. A fire, miles away, no access road, middle of a frozen lake, and someone dancing around it. I radioed the base, no response, static, then something like a laugh, warped and underwater. The fire burned steady through the night. Next morning, I climbed down and used my scope. Still burning, same figure, circling it, too tall, too thin, no coat, no tracks, nothing disturbed around it, just flame. When I checked my journal that night, I found a new entry, dated that day. Saw the fire again. It's calling me to warm my bones. But I hadn't written it, my handwriting, but not my words. I stopped sleeping after that. Every time I blinked, I saw that flame closer. One night, it wasn't miles away, it was below the tower. And the figure, it had my face, only hungrier. Come warm your bones. I started making marks on the wall. Each night I saw the fire, a new tally. It showed up every night, even during snowstorms, even with no wood to burn. I asked myself if it was a flare, a hallucination, a reflection, but reflections don't whisper your name. Thomas. The generator started failing, then my water tank tasted off, like ash. Then came the knocking, at 3:14 AM, every night, without fail. 3 knocks, then silence, always from the trapdoor below. I stopped responding, but one night, it knocked back the same rhythm I tapped, like it was listening. I tried writing it off, cabin fever, isolation psychosis, but then the burn marks started, on the outer walls, char patterns, perfect circles, radiating like heat prints. Inside, ice cold, outside, smouldering. I set up a trail cam. Next morning, melted lens, SD card gone, just ash on the floor. I checked the binocs again, the fire was on the stairs. What do you do when the only warmth left wants to eat you? The figure began to change. It wasn't me anymore, it was better, stronger, younger, burning from the inside out. It started writing in my journal. You've been up there too long, Thomas. Your meat's ripe now. Come feed the fire. I stopped eating. I stopped talking. I just watched. Blizzard hit on February the 3rd. It's the worst in years. I couldn't see the trees, but the fire, it burned clearer than ever. I saw the figure climb the stairs, but I heard nothing. Not a footstep, not a breath, until the trapdoor creaked open and I saw me, naked, emaciated, mouth cracked wide in a grin full of soot, and in his hands a torch. The room didn't catch fire, I did. Not heat, not burn, just light. I blinked and saw myself dancing outside, around the fire, just like him, just like I'd seen. I screamed, but the scream stayed inside, and the version of me by the fire smiled wider. You're late. I woke up 3 days later in Whitehorse, helicopter evac after I missed 2 check-ins. Frostbite, dehydration, deliria. I told them everything. They found no burn damage at Birch Ridge, no tracks, no scorch marks, no fire ever reported on the lake. But when they reviewed my logs, every page was the same phrase, over and over. The fire is me, the fire is me, the fire is me. They've got me in therapy now, say it was a breakdown, cabin psychosis. But every night since, I smell smoke, even when it rains, even in the city, and sometimes, when I look in the mirror, I see the flames behind my eyes, and I know I never left that tower. She was in the footage when we found the phone, but we never saw her leave the cabin. In the final seconds, she was staring at the camera, naked, shaking, and her eyes, they're all black, like something else is watching through her. We went in for a dare. We joked about the Wendigo legend, the collar on the floor, the scratch marks in the walls, but now one of us is gone. One of us isn't right, and the rest, we're not sure who's still human. Don't look at the wall. I'm Nathan Foster. I'm 22. I run a small YouTube channel where we explore haunted places across Quebec and Ontario. Our crew's just 3 of us, me, my best friend Rory, and my girlfriend Alyssa. We do the usual, creepy abandoned hospitals, mines, burnt down houses. Halloween weekend, someone sent us a tip. Check out the cabin outside St. Zenon. It's called the Wendigo House, old trapper's place. Nobody who sleeps inside lasts till morning. We thought it was clickbait gold, an unlisted dirt road, middle of nowhere, no cell reception, and sealed off by rotten fences. Exactly what we were looking for, until we stepped inside. The cabin smelled wrong, like burnt meat, wet fur. There was one main room, no furniture, just a rusted iron collar bolted into the floorboards, thick enough for an animal or a person, and deep scratch marks in the floor leading away from it. Rory joked, "Guess someone didn't want to stay chained up." Alyssa didn't laugh. She pointed to the wall, covered in carvings, same symbols, same words, over and over. "Don't eat, don't speak, don't look at the wall." We set up a GoPro near the collar, left night vision running. That night, around 2:13 AM, the feed glitched. We didn't notice until we reviewed the footage later. That night, Alyssa kept waking up. She said she heard growling, not from outside, from below the floor. We brushed it off. Next morning, we found her phone on the floor, recording. 3 hours of static, then 30 minutes of her standing in front of the collar, eyes wide open, not blinking. No sound, no movement. Then a whisper, "It's not hungry anymore." She didn't remember filming it, and her eyes looked wrong the next day, sunken, veined. She wouldn't eat, wouldn't talk. When Rory asked if she was okay, she smiled and said, "She's fine." Not, "I'm fine, she's fine." We wanted to leave. We packed in 10 minutes flat. Rory loaded the gear. I went to find Alyssa. She was back inside, staring at the wall, carving something with her fingernail. I touched her shoulder. She didn't move. She just whispered, "She wore the collar too long. Now she's awake." That was when Rory screamed outside. We ran to the van. The windows were smashed, gear gone. Only thing left was the GoPro, still recording. On playback, we saw it. Someone, or something, crouching in the tree line. Too tall, thin, head tilted, antlers, watching, breathing. What do you do when something ancient notices you noticing it? We tried hiking back to the main road. It didn't matter which way we walked. We always ended up back at the cabin. Alyssa started humming, a low tune, the same 4 notes, over and over. She stopped blinking entirely, and that night, she walked into the woods. Rory chased her. Neither came back. I found her phone 2 days later, face down in the moss, battery nearly dead. There was one video left, 15 minutes long. First 5 minutes, her walking into the woods, slow, barefoot, then static, then Rory screaming, then silence, and then her face, right up against the lens, smiling. But her eyes were black, not pupilless, black like burned glass. And behind her, standing in the tree line, a woman, bound at the neck by a chain, mouth hanging open, eyes wide, mimicking Alyssa's every move. They both looked at the camera, then said, in perfect sync, "She's awake now," and the screen went dark. I was picked up by a ranger, drenched, hypothermic, 2 fingers gone. I told the police everything. They searched the woods, found no cabin, no collar, no chains, but they did find the journal entries from 1971 from a trapper named Emile Benoit. He wrote that his wife had turned in the winter, that she stopped speaking, stopped eating, and one night she left the bed and chained herself to the floor. Every night after, she whispered in the dark, "The Wendigo is me now." Her body was never found, but every few years, someone vanishes near Saint Ceylon. And now, sometimes when I dream, I see a collar in my apartment floor, and I wake up humming just 4 notes over and over. We think monsters as things that chase us, but some wait to be invited back. The Wendigo doesn't always devour. Sometimes it simply replaces. Have you ever looked in someone's eyes and felt like something else was looking out? If this story stuck with you, leave a comment and subscribe to Blighty Nightmares for more real-world horrors that whisper when the world goes quiet. And remember, if you hear humming in the dark, don't look at the wall.